My lords, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to Transport Fever 2. And there's a bit of a confession to start this episode. I had recorded, I did record 3 simultaneous, three back-to-back episodes. About an hour and a half's worth of overall footage. And because I did them back to back, without any sort of break between, I never noticed at any point until after I'd recorded all 3 and saved the map progress that the microphone wasn't plugged in. So it recorded fine, the game footage is a-okay, but there was no commentary to go along with it. So I'm not sure what to do with the footage. I'm quite tempted to do maybe like a filler episode where perhaps I take the 90 minutes worth of footage spread over 3 recording sessions, although it was all one after the other, as I said, and maybe just make a little, a montage sans commentary, just so you can see for yourself what you have missed. This episode will just be a verbal overview as to what was missed. So let's get started. So we'll bring up the UI. I'm going to keep this date progression paused, as you can see, over the 3 episodes that had the difficulties. Obviously the difficulties were between the chair and the keyboard, aka myself. We have got into 1949 and we've had a whole host of new unlocks in that time. So just to fill you in then on the major changes, and I will just focus on the major changes. First of all, we have a couple of ferry services running across New York. They're not attracting a lot of passengers, they're not making money, but it's nice to see the river looking quite busy and quite populated in terms of ships. So we have that. You can see cities have grown quite a bit in the intervening period. So the first big change comes in form of the Amtrak Northeast. Now if we just jump onto this train here, or follow it along, as you can see we have the Alco PA PB locos now unlocked, and these are now hauling the stopping service. They're doing pretty well for themselves, they're still making us money, and they're going considerably faster than our previous engines that we had on there. Or the acceleration is better than it was the higher wathers we were using, wasn't it? So that's the first substantial change. What I'm going to do, I'm going to focus on vehicle changes first of all, and then talk about any new lines that have been set up. What we've also unlocked are the Greyhound coaches, so they are now running all of our bus routes across the map. That's a recent addition, so we've gone away from, was it the Schneiders, I think, last time out, so we have a more modern buses running through our map now. We've also unlocked the Studebaker trucks as well, so all of our trucking lines have trucking, yes, that. All of those have been retrofitted with the Studebakers. They have higher capacity and higher speed, slightly lower emissions as well, so that's always a nice bonus. If we head over to our fuel production, we have unlocked a modded tank car. This has 75 miles per hour top speed and slightly increased capacity as well. So the fuel shunt and the fuel haulage have been upgraded with the new tanks, and as we can see they also have the PRR locomotives now instead of the MILWs. Another unlock we've achieved is, if we can find one nearby, let's have a look. Oh, yep, we have Alcos on some of our shunting services, as we can see right here, but we'd unlocked that previously anyway. But if we go here, we have the big boy now available to us. And now when I made the change from the Class 9000 to the big boy, there wasn't much in it in terms of its performance, but because I wanted to see the big boy on the map, I've gone ahead and changed out our Class 9000s on this route only to incorporate the big boy 488 locomotive. So nice to see them make an appearance. A very beastly looking train, I'm sure we will all agree, and it's nice to see them thundering across the map. Now, in terms of other changes, most of our changes from here on out in terms of our lines, I don't think there's any other major vehicle modifications. Yes, they're all down here because what I decided to do was focus on the towns of Philadelphia, Baltimore and Washington DC in order to stimulate some growth. So the first thing we have done is set up a trucking line here, delivering grain to this food processing plant, and then the grain is loaded onto these trains here. This is, let me remind myself, this is a mod, this is a Baldwin DD 662,000, and this one ships food from Washington DC up into Baltimore just up here. Baltimore does require food, Washington does not. So we have food coming in here. We also have bricks, and as we can see, the train station at Baltimore has had extensive modifications. We now, I should say, have a multi-purpose station serving passengers and cargo alike, and we have this truck station set up here as well to handle the incoming goods for their delivery into Baltimore. At the moment, all we have coming in is the food and the bricks. So if we just follow this line, we'll go from here to its starting point, and then we can see it's gone to Washington as well, just down here. We had to bridge over all of this, so there's no interaction between our passenger lines and our freight lines, so nothing's going to hold anything else up like it would be right here, for instance, so everything can remain as free-flowing as possible. So yes, if we follow this line, it hugs alongside our our passenger line, as we can see, and it goes on for quite a while. There's no interaction between the two, they are just running parallel, and now it breaks off, and as we head up here, as we approach Philadelphia, we curve round onto this line here, and if you remember, this is shipping plastics down to the goods factory. So we come down here, this is all now shared track with our freight lines, and we bypass this station here. Here's the goods factory at Wilmington, which is in use, so we've got some bypass tracks here to allow our freight to pass on through without being held up by anything that may be loading or unloading. We come in through this food processing plant here, which is a new addition, and we go as far as this construction materials plant, which again is another new addition. So this plant here, this is serving Philadelphia, Washington DC, I believe. Yep, Washington DC, Baltimore and Philadelphia. The Philadelphia leg is just handled by road vehicles because we're quite close to Philadelphia, so we can get away with using trucks. Likewise, this food processing plant uses trucks to deliver into Philadelphia, so the bricks and the food are now being supplied. We haven't done any of these third and fourth commodities in any of these cities, Philadelphia, Baltimore or Washington, at this point. So this is all set up and running nicely. This construction materials plant is fed from this quarry here by Trenton, and as you can see, we have a new train depot down here to serve the southern edge, or the southern half of our map, and this is the farm that we're using to supply the food processing plant. So we can see some of the new vehicles coming through. This is one of the new ones we have unlocked, and this is a mod. This is the USA, I think it's the 160, and it's quite a capable little train. Obviously it doesn't look as big or as beasty as, say, the Class 9000 or the big boy, but it does do a sterling job for what we need. So for our short to perhaps medium haulage lines, the USA 160 really does hold its own. It's got decent acceleration even under full load, and it is capable of hitting its top speed of 50 miles per hour. So we're using those here. So yes, we have this line here serving the construction materials plant over in Philadelphia, and we have this line here serving the food plant over by Philadelphia. And again, the food for Philadelphia is just handled by road vehicles that are just doing the final leg of the journey. Nothing else is fed from this farm. As we can see, we only have one line being used here, so the second platform is used as a bypass for the bricks train that heads to Baltimore and the one that heads into Washington DC. Another slightly cosmetic change I have done is I've put a few more bridges in and around New York City, as we can see, just to spread out the traffic as much as possible, because due to the lack of bridges, everybody was being funneled onto one or two bridges. So by adding extras, it's just balanced out the traffic as much as possible. As we can see here, Brooklyn and Queens, they've now basically conglomerated into one large city, or district of New York City, I suppose is the correct and real definition. So it's nice to see that expansion there. New York City hasn't really grown that much, but it only does have the one commodity, which is obviously goods, which we are supplying through this goods port here. That was done a few episodes ago. So we've not had any extra demands in New York City at this time. However, Yonkers and New York City, they are very close to basically blurring the lines between their respective boundaries. So that's good, and hopefully a bit more growth will accelerate that. I mean, we've not really done anything with Yonkers yet, as we can see, so we have plenty of scope to grow Yonkers. Likewise, New Rochelle, we've not done anything at all with her, or with it. So there's growth availability here as well, which should fill out a lot of this land that we have sitting empty right here. Jersey City continues to grow quite nicely, and again we are supplying 2 of the 4 commodities, so there's plenty of room for expansion around this area at the moment, and that's something obviously we're going to look to do. For now, however, I have been, as I said, focused on Philadelphia, Baltimore and Washington DC. The only goods coming into Washington at this present time are the bricks. We haven't had a delivery yet. This line was the last one I set up in the last failed recording attempt. So there's nothing new going on here at this moment in time. Let me just see here. I want to make sure this train, yes, as we can see, this would block any brick trains that might be trying to come in. So what we're going to do is just do a few platform tweaks here and send you, what the heck, you can run to number 5. That keeps you well out of the way, as we can see, so there should be no hold-ups there. The thing I mentioned that obviously you've missed due to my stupidity in the last attempted episode was perhaps looking at our express train and maybe mothballing the Zephyrs in lieu of something a little bit faster. Now, what I'm thinking we're going to do, so this is basically a recap episode, so in terms of new lines or new infrastructure, there's not going to be much. But what I am going to do is just have a look at this Amtrak Northeast Express line. As you can see, we have 8 locomotives on here now, and we're doing pretty well in terms of our capacity. But what we could do is if we just get 2 to do a side-by-side comparison. So at the moment we can top out at 110 and carry 52 people. However, the top speed takes 11 kilometers or 6 minutes to achieve. What we could do, however, is remove that locomotive. Here are some new unlocks as well. I haven't looked at these yet, but these are clearly more suited for freight rather than passenger work, so we're going to disregard those. But what we could do, as I was saying, is perhaps use an Alco PAPB on this line as well. It's got a faster top speed already, 117. And if we did something like this, where we had the Alco PAPB multi-unit, followed by passenger wagons composed of the heavyweight parlours, like this, and if we aim for a similar capacity, so 57, so a slight increase, we can see we're able to hit our top speeds considerably faster. So before it might have been 6 minutes, now it's only 3 minutes and under half the distance of the Zephyr. So this is an option. Obviously this is more expensive. It's going to cost 20 million per locomotive to do this. However, it's going to make the line a little bit, well, considerably faster, especially in terms of its acceleration, and we're also going to have that ever so slight increase in capacities as well. And I think if we use the coloured multi-unit on this, especially if we put it at the head of the train, it's going to look quite splendid indeed. So I think that's what we're going to do here. We're going to mothball and say goodbye to our Pioneer Zephyrs now, and instead go for the Alco PAPB with these carriages. If we look at our electric locos, none of them are faster than the Zephyr, as we can see, 110. The fastest one we have available is only 99. So there's nothing doing there for us. And I don't think we have anything faster in here. So this is what we're going to do then. So rather than doing them all one at a time, we're just going to do a bulk replace all vehicles. And we're going to add this on. What colour is it? Is that purple, I believe. So the PAPB, and then we want the heavyweight 281 parlours. And if we go for, in fact, how's that? See, that's even, yeah, that's still getting up to speed twice as quickly, and it's getting up to a higher speed, and it's also increasing our overall capacity. 154 million, it's a large price tag, but it's a price tag worth paying, I believe. So what the heck will do that? So this is going to not only increase our carriage capacity, but it's also going to increase our acceleration and the overall top speed, although the top speed differential, there's not much in it. I believe it was 110 plays 112, so nothing to get too excited about. However, the increased capacity should be helpful, because as we can see here, look, 500 passengers awaiting collection to go into New York City. So if we can give them a couple of extra seats on our trains, everybody's going to be happy. Same here, look at this, 274 waiting to go to Philadelphia. Even our Amtrak Northeast is proving very popular still, 340 heading to Stamford, the majority of which, or the most popular station, is New Haven. As we can see there, we have 143 and 76 to New London. So obviously the stopping service still has its place. As we know, our express service doesn't call at Stamford or New Haven. At least I don't think it calls at New Haven. I think it goes straight on through. Yes, it bypasses, doesn't it? So the next station is, of course, Kingston. So people are still wanting to go to these places, which is obviously providing that demand on our stopping service. So it's good that we have both options available. So now that everything is caught up, do let me know down in the comments if you would like me to make a quick montage, so to speak, of the footage that came without the commentary, of all the building and the setting up of all these lines. I wouldn't do a voiceover for it. I would just do the musical soundtrack, or the classical tunes playing away in the background, and it would be quite condensed. As I said, it's about 90 minutes worth of footage, and I'd want to get that down to around 30 minutes where possible. However, if you don't feel like you've missed too much in that, obviously there's been some expansion, but you're happy enough with where we are at and ready to press on in the next episode, then of course let me know, and we'll depending on the strength of feelings and the numbers, I'll make a determination. So I'll keep all of the footage for a couple of weeks, and what I can always do is slot it in as an episode 0.5 between the previous one and us, maybe between this one and the next one, if people do want to watch it. But if they want to skip it, obviously then they have the option and they can go to the next full episode. Okay, so we'll leave it there for today. As I said, it's just a catch up and an apology for my own incompetence. And what shall we have a little trundle on today? Well, if we have a big boy about to depart, which we don't, we could head out on a big boy. Although, in fact, no, I think what we'll do is we'll jump on one of our express trains. If we can get one near Kingston, that would be quite nice. Do we have one just departing Kingston? No, you're the stopping service. Okay, so no, we don't have anything approaching Kingston at this time. Let's have a little think. What can we take a little jaunt on? Well, you're not going, you're just the fuel delivery. You're not really going, sorry, the crude shunt. So you're not going anywhere exciting. What about you? Let's have a ride on you then. We get to see some of the new track. Or should we, in fact, no, let's have a ride on this express train, because we'll go straight through the centre of Philadelphia and New York City. And I think that's where we'll end it as we start to leave New York City, because it'll give us a more cinematic cab ride, I think, with all the developing skylines and the high rises and whatnot. So yeah, there we go. So once again, I apologise for the mess up, but we're all caught up now, I believe. And as I said, I'll have a little think and see what you guys think about doing a little 0.5 montage episode down the line to just fill in the gaps. But the next full episode will press on as usual, focusing on Washington, Philadelphia and Baltimore. Not all three, but one of those cities. I'm not sure which one we'll do yet. So thank you very much for watching and your continued and ongoing and very welcome support. It's very nice to see, and I thank you all for that as usual. But for now, all that remains for me to say is, as always, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.